Today I'm going to show you how I made these evil queen ears for my wife. Some of the supplies we need are some foam or cardboard. This is another piece of thin foam, sparkly. Some fabric. For this one I went with a red and a purple. Some polyfill, or any kind of stuffing that you can find. Use some ribbon here for some edging. Some wire. This is a nice bendable wire. Headband, you can choose to cover your own or not. So we start off by taking the foam pieces or the cardboard. You're going to cut them out with the pattern I'll include in the description. I also cut some fabric out here to surround this headband. Use some fabric glue here. Now I didn't really care for this too much. It's supposed to dry clear, but it looked a little crusty, for lack of a better word. But basically I just cut it out, generous around, like you can see the white coming through, but I did decide to go to the hot glue gun to get the inside of it. I just fold it together. You're going to take some of your fabric here, and for this obviously you need some scissors and a glue gun as well. But I cut it out about 9 inches by 13. And then I fold the long side on the inside. Now I do attach it with a dot of glue in the middle, just so I can kind of get them to stay there. I flip it over and I do the other side. Fold the long side again into the middle. Again, I attach it with some glue there in the middle to keep it held down. And then I did come along the side and glue the sides down. And then I go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, because we're going to be stuffing these. We don't want the stuffing really coming out too much, so I like to seal it off. And then I'm going to go ahead and stuff it. Now you can choose how much stuffing that you want to put in there. Some people I know like thicker bows, some don't like as much stuffing, so really the choice is yours. But I try to get a lot of stuffing in here because my wife does like a lot of stuffing. And then once you get that stuffing in there, you're going to fold the ends. You know, the short sides you're now folding into the middle. And again, I do glue it down here, just kind of getting the idea of what the bow is going to look like there, to make sure I had enough stuffing that I wanted in there. And I kind of glued some of the fabric down to the stuffing. Now this can get real messy because that stuffing can get like wiry, I guess. Kind of stretch out. But basically I'm going to put a lot of glue in the middle and again fold the sides inside to the middle and kind of just press down there. And then of course I repeat the same thing on the other side. And after this I kind of like some of the stuffing was coming out, so I kind of picked that off. I do put it together and I put an elastic around the middle just to kind of keep the bow to get that bow shape. This is really my first try with a puffy bow, so a lot of it was just trial and error. And then I take a strip of cloth, again just like I did for the bow. I fold the long edge into the middle, glue it to the middle, and I do that on both sides. Basically this is going to make a strip, then I'm going to wrap around the center of the bow so that you don't see the elastic. And of course I'm going to glue that onto the bow. And I do try to wrap so that any part that's going to show like being cut is on the back of the bow. There we go. We've got a nice little puffy bow there. then I got these little gems. I forgot to show them at the beginning there, but I got these little gems, just backs. Basically, I'm just going to glue one, hot glue one right down the middle there. Of course, I chose red for this. It was a little tricky, so I want to make sure to press it down for a while. There you go. Nice little bow with a red gem. And then this is where I started doing the ears. Basically, I just cut out 2 for one side, you know, for one ear. You're going to take 2 inserts. Again, you can use cardboard, but in this case I used some thick foam that I had left over. And you're just kind of going to glue around the edge. Now, I used the costume fabric for this, which was kind of difficult to work because once you cut it, it started like the threads started to come loose. And then I did find out that on one of the ears I had tried, when I was stuffing it, the threading started to come across. So if you're going to use this costume fabric, which is definitely a cheap option, you got to be careful with that. Basically, you're just going to continue to glue around the edge here, and you're going to leave that bottom part open. And one thing I'd like to point out is that when I cut the fabric out, there at the end, the edge of the ear, I kind of draw an extension out from there so that I've got plenty of fabric to work with at the bottom of the ear. Basically allows for some room for when you're stuffing these. And there we go. I repeat the same process on the other one. Just kind of go around on the edge there. You're going to leave that hole, and then of course you're going to start stuffing them. And again, this is totally up to personal preference here also. Some material that has like a stretch to it, you can really stuff those ears if you want to. But I found with this material, trying to not stuff it as much worked better, because again, I would see that threading come loose. Basically, you're going to take both these. Now, in this case, what I do is I do glue the bottoms on both ears, but I've also experimented with gluing the bottom on the ear like this one, but then leaving the other one open after I stuff it. And that way I could wrap the bottom around the headband to try to help secure it. But in this case, I did glue both of the bottoms, which worked fine also. Now go ahead and put a generous amount of glue here, you'll see, just all over the inside there. And then once you do that, you're going to press them together. They don't have to be lined up perfectly, but I do try to make sure they're lined up good. And there we go. You've got one part of your ears. Half of them done right there. Basically, I'm going to come across the edge here. If you want them to look neater, you can put a little glue there and kind of press the edges together and help secure them. Down there, one no-sew ear. Of course, I repeat the process on the other cloth there. Now this is the only set of ears I did with the foam piece inside, because originally I was going to go for some sewed ears, and I ran into a problem with this material again with the sewing. It started to, like, the thread started to come apart. I hadn't really worked with costume material too much, and that's what this was branded as, so it was a little difficult to work with. So if you can find like some good colors like this, you know, I do like the shine to them, but if you can find some colors like this, then maybe in a stretchier material, that might be a good option. Of course, I glued both these shut again here. And I find you can't go wrong with the amount of glue that you put in here. Squish them together and voila, you've got a second ear. And see how the pieces came apart there a little bit? You just kind of fill it in with some glue there and press them together. Just kind of cleans it up a little bit. There we go. Another ear. Okay, so here I took a piece of paper and I kind of traced out the pattern. This again was the ear cutting pattern, and I kind of just freehanded a little skull in here for like the poison that's on the apple, and then I kind of just cut it out of the paper. This is basically used for a pattern later, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in some foam, and here we use the trimming. Now the trimming you can pretty much find, you kind of look around for it. I think I found this at Walmart. It wasn't too expensive, just a couple of bucks, and there was plenty there. I was able to use this for some of the ears I made as well. And you're just gonna kind of put it along the edge so you can get the proper length, and then you're just gonna hot glue it right there in that crease. Found out with these no-sew ears is that you can cover up a lot of the ugliness that might come with the glue, and they really turn out great with the trim. And there we go. Got an ear with the trim on it. See how it does look nicer. You're not going to see that edge. You know, if you do it right, you're not going to see that edge or glue sticking out or looking like the ears are coming apart. It adds that little extra of fancy. I just cleaned it up a little bit. There we go. A couple of ears and a bow. We're almost there. So I went back to the pattern. Now I did go ahead and use a X-Acto knife to cut out the eyes there. Basically I'm going to go in here, flip over my shiny, sparkly foam here. And again, this was a thin foam. I got a Hobby Lobby. I believe this one was on sale, but I'm a big fan of Hobby Lobby and the 40% off coupon. So if you need to pick up a couple of things and you really want to make it cheap, you can pick up one thing one day, another day pick up another one. Here I was pointing out that I drew the pattern on the back, but I drew the front, and of course I want the shiny side out. So I had to flip over the pattern to draw it on the back. And of course I cut that out, and there we go. You can see that, hey, when I turn it over, it's this design that I intended on, and it's got the nice little shiny side to it, so I kind of like that. Of course my wife likes sparkly, so I had to do that. And then I just kind of glue it on the ear here, and then I come back and kind of glue on the tips, make sure it's all got, you know, attached there. It doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as it'll stay on the ear. There we go. We got an apple ear with poison melting down it. And of course we're going to put our bow there and kind of get an idea what it's going to look like. This wire I found, again I used a 40% coupon off of it. It was only like a couple bucks for a bunch of it, if that. And then here I'm trying to trace out the bow so I get an idea what the bow is going to look like. And then that way I kind of just freehand a crown here, or the general shape of a crown, like her crown with the points. So I'm just going to use this basically to take that that metal wire that I found and kind of bend it into the shape. So I kind of just bend it into the kind of shape here, and then I'm going to go back with those pliers I've got there and kind of squeeze the the ends together to make them, you know, seem a little bit sharper. And there we go. I'll put the bow on it, get an idea what it'll look like. Okay, and I took the set of ears to like try to position where the ears would be on the headband. Sometimes I think I can get it a little bit too low on the sides, but I mean, when you put it in, the ears go up. And if you look at like Mickey and Minnie, their ears aren't like totally on the top of their head or anything. They're off to the side. So I'm just kind of comfortable with, you know, putting them on there. But I do use a headband to kind of find the position. A lot of times I'll mark on the headband with a dotted glue. In this case, I just kind of glued all across the bottom of the ears and pressed them on. But you can see that they're on there. They look like ears. And that's the beautiful thing about hand making things, is sometimes, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect to make it, well, perfect, if that makes sense. And here I go ahead and glue the bow on. Press it down on the top, just in the center. Now this again was my first time working with a big puffy bow, so I had to kind of mess with it here. You'll see later on. Here what it is, I kind of put them down and I kind of just winged the general shape of her cape, because I really wanted her cape to stick out. And then I go ahead and cut that out here. And I kind of held it together to see what it would look like. At this point, I went ahead and glued the crown onto the foam. Now again, this was the shiny side, so that this would, you know, the metal pieces are actually going to be hidden behind the bow. So originally I was like, okay, well, I'll just do it this way. You won't see the metal pieces because I'll be gluing them on the back of the ear. And here you see again with the puffy bow, I decided to go ahead and try to glue some of the back of that puffy bow down. Just the bottom part, because I still wanted it to give that give when the headband expands when you're putting it on. And then I went back and actually drew out another piece. You can just rough sketching it out, another piece here, because I decided to go ahead and put another piece on the back side with the shiny side out. So if you were looking at it from the back or the front, you would see the sparkly. Even evil queens like sparkly. Okay, and then I kind of just press down the ears here. Now I'd say most of the glue probably hit the headband area, maybe the bow, and part of the ears. But it did find out I didn't want too much sticking to the ears, because again, when you put the headband on, it kind of expands there. But there it is. I made some ears here, Evil Queen inspired ears. I hope you like them. And again, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. We need more subscribers. Thanks.